I'm doing it.
Doing what?
Another Roman road video.
Oh God.
What?
Well, do you remember what happened last time?
What?
I can't remember.
In the past, I've been guilty of walking through our landscape, not really paying attention to a great deal around me as I go. And whilst that guilt probably isn't a crime to everyone, that guilt has manifested itself as a bit of an obsession for me. Spending the last few years indulging myself with this infatuation of human geography has really accentuated how attached I've become to wanting to learn more about it. I want to become more engaged with the scars of our landscape, who painted these pictures, the art on the ground all around us, and what motivated them to shape it in the way they did. And so today we've found ourselves in this quiet little corner of southern England, looking to see if we could find some evidence of a place where two Roman roads were said to have crossed. It was only when we started doing some research on this crossing, and I mean some significant research, it was only then that I realised that it's actually okay to make your own theory. Not only that, but also if you dig deep enough, you can even question what is commonly accepted by academics and authoritative bodies. So, without further ado, welcome to today's mystery. To give you some geographical context of where we are today, we're at a ford here, halfway between the villages of Monkston Devil and Kingston Devil, and it's a spot where two Roman roads are said to have crossed. There's not much argument about their crossing point. It was somewhere between here, the modern crossing, and about 30 yards that way. So, the Roman roads in question were the Lead Road, which is Route 45, in particular this section's 45B, which went from Salisbury, because of Winchester Salisbury, across to the Mendips, where they mined lead. So the second route that crossed this point is the north-south route, which went down the coast by Poole and north up to Bath. So, with our Ivan McGarry book in hand, let's see what Ivan McGarry made of all these routes inwards and outwards from that crossing point at the fords. So you join us on the eastern section of the Lead Road, where McGarry detailed the Roman road really well. He said there was aggers clearly in sight, there was terraces. We think we're on a terrace now because we're coming down the side of this hill, which is great. So the road we're on obviously now goes towards the Devils, as we say, about 500 metres short of the Devils. McGarry's description of the road pretty much stops.
Stops? How can it stop? Because the road still has to be there, it can't just vanished.
So this is the point. So McGarry didn't detail the road because he said, well, it obviously went down to the Devils, but there's no visible evidence. So he didn't make a claim to say, yeah, it's definitely there or definitely there. But you can pretty much surmise where it was from it.
Okay, so where do we pick up McGarry again?
We don't.
We don't?
Nope. That's it for McGarry.
Really?
Yep.
He's like your guru of Roman roads.
I know.
You've been obsessed with him for weeks.
I know.
And now you're telling me, oh no, there's nothing.
That's it. The whole area, there's no more. So McGarry, he's a genius because he wrote this massive book and he detailed every Roman road in the country. But he was also really good because he didn't detail conjecture. So the whole rest of this area, the Lead Road that way, he said Sir Richard Hoare detailed it, but he's not sure. There's no obvious evidence, so he's not gonna guess. So what we're going to do next is pick up about 3 or 4 others conjecture, because when we get down into the Devils, it becomes really interesting. The geography becomes really interesting. Over the top of the hill, there's 3 or 4 different ideas of where it went. And that's where we also pick up on the historic England controversy.
Da, da, da.
So as we're walking back to the car before we journey down to the Devils, this is obviously the Lead Road, east-west road, and this is supposedly the scheduled monument that is the Roman road, straight line down to the valley where we just were. The reason why they definitely know it's Lead Road is because they found along this route pig lead, so they know that it was carried from the Mendips back towards Salisbury, Winchester and the ports thereafter and beyond. Interesting. We're now on Cold Kitchen Hill. We're walking up Cold Kitchen Hill to the west of Monkton Devil and Kingston Devil, and we're going to continue the pursuit for the Lead Road, the western side of the Lead Road, from that ford and from those crossroads. So we know now that McGarry did not have any exact theory himself about this route from that crossroads for another 5 or 6 miles at least. So there are, however, 3 other theories about this route and where it went. Number 1 is a man called Myatt, who wrote a book about the Devils, and he said quite clearly the road came from the Devils behind us there, up the slant of the hill and onto the top of the ridge. It went across the ridgeway, he said, above Markham Woods and down the western side of the hill, above Maiden Bradley. Now, that's theory number 1. Theory number 2 is a man called Bob Whittaker. Bob Whittaker said he found the Roman road, and you can quite clearly see on satellite images that it goes up and down all the shoulders of the valley, all the ridges of this valley. I think that's a little bit.
It's a bit uppy downy, basically.
It's a bit uppy downy for Roman
and
road.
Yes, they did do uppy downy, but not quite as quick.
What would be
That's
the
like
point?
this. You said 3.
I said 3.
Who's the
Yeah.
third? You.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Third theory of where the road went. Obviously, it's the uneducated me. So have a look on some overlay. We'll show you now. Now the overlay that I'm going to show you is the south side of this hill, the Cold Kitchen Hill, and you can see with the use of this pen exactly what we've done. We'll flick from an OS map over to the aerial view on Google Maps, and you can see exactly what we mean. There's a faint line which does go in the exact slant of the Lead Road, and it also would meet up with just north of Maiden Bradley and the crossroads down the hill there. So that's pretty much it for the Lead Road. We've looked at 3 or 4 different theories. I'm still back in my theory, but having said that, as we walk even higher up Cold Kitchen Hill, there is evidence of maybe that's a ditch, and maybe Mike was right, this is the route, but there's no ditch this side. It's all a bit sketchy really, and that really is probably why McGarry didn't make much comment about this route, because it was very, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, wasn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing
So,
concrete.
right, next stop is to have a look at the north-south route here. Equally as important, it went from Poole to Bath. Bath, obviously a very important place for the Romans, and a direct route down to the coast via to Poole was obviously of great importance to them. So, what did McGarry say about this route? We also already know not a lot. He did detail from Poole almost up to here very well, but again, when we get to here, it all becomes very unclear, and that's really important to remember for our historic England in a bit. McGarry said it probably joined Route 52, which went north. So we're just going to step over to the other side of the hill up there, and we're going to talk about a man called George Allen and his theory of where the route went. So you now find us on the eastern end of Cold Kitchen Hill in the search for anything about the north-south route, and some evidence that we've got from various sources. Number 1, George Allen. George Allen walked the entire route from Poole up to Bath, and he tried to map as much as he could. Now bear in mind, Ivan McGarry walked up to this point, he researched up to this point and said there is nothing that he could see or any evidence that he could gather to say that the route from here went north, other than it probably did. That's important, again, come back to that very shortly. Now, George Allen, as I say, walked this route, and he said that it didn't go across this ridgeway, the north-south. George Allen said that it came from down there, which is where the ford is, and came straight up the hill and across alongside this long barrow. You can see the long barrow just there. And he said that's really important because long barrows often faced the direction of old routes. So potentially the Romans went alongside this as they went on top of a route that was already here. And they zigzagged, he said, down the side, the north face of this hill, and they continued straight line north on the eastern side of that ridgeway there. That ridgeway housed a Roman temple. So what better way, as George Allen said, was to be able to walk underneath that and along the road off to the north. The next theory which is also by Myatt. We discussed Myatt earlier when he talked about the lead road. The next theory is Myatt's. Myatt said that it did actually go across the Ridgeway and joined obviously along the lead road before it headed off north towards Parsonage Farm. We're going to walk up to that point now, and we're going to get to the controversial Historic England scheduled monument of Route 52 North. You join us on the last leg of this journey now, and this is really important because Myatt, in his book about the Devil, said that the Roman road travelled all the way across the ridge and down here, so then it angled off north and went up through here through Parsonage Farm back on this north track, so across the ridge and north here. That's really important because McGarry said, and I think do we read it from the book? It said
it probably continued to Bath.
So what McGarry said by that is the route from the ford probably continued to Bath. He didn't mention anything about the route itself.
No, he said it must have, well, theoretically it must have done because
yes,
of the road.
But no, he didn't mention where.
He didn't mention where, he didn't mention how.
Right, that's really important. This part we're on now has been listed as a scheduled monument by Historic England and listed as a Roman road. Now when you scroll down to the bottom of that scheduled monument, you see that their source for this information is page 107 of Ivan McGarry's book. That's really strange. Page 107, when you look at his book, is about this route, but the southern end, the Poole to Monkton Deverill, Route 46, not 52. Route 52 is on page 127, and as we just said, it only states it probably went north out of Monkton Deverill at somewhere and probably went up to Bath. Route 52 is only detailed from Frome north, so this section from here to Frome isn't detailed, and yet Historic England have this listed as a Roman road.
On page 127 it actually says probably meets the lead road near Kingston Deverill, but this is not yet certainly known.
That's all he said.
That's what's on 127 about
Right.
Route 52.
So page 107, he doesn't even talk about this route, he talks about the routes itself.
It probably continued to Bath.
Yeah.
That's all he said on page 107.
So we're really confused as to why Historic England have that listed and sourced as Ivan McGarry, and also more importantly, it doesn't look like a Roman road. There's no evidence, like we found with the other scheduled monument on the lead road to the east.
Yep.
That looks like a Roman road.
It's clear, isn't it? It's clear.
There's terraces and aggers which are listed by McGarry. There's a terrace and an agger, quite clear, but here nothing you can see that's obvious at all.
It's more of a farmer's track that's a bit more modern.
Farmer's track and loads of old quarry work. So that's pretty much it from us today. We've explored 2 Roman roads, their crossing point by the ford, and we've explored lots of different kind of people's ideas about where this went. Most interestingly probably is Historic England's concept of this being a scheduled monument because McGarry said so, and McGarry makes no mention of it actually being a Roman road. In fact, 2 other people suggest that the zigzag down on the east side of Coal Kitchen Hill is actually the Roman road, nowhere near here. Anyway, right, we are going to sign off from Roman roads back to the usual abandoned railways and such next week, I'm sure. Thanks for watching, appreciate your support as always, and we will see you next time.
You remember what happened last time?
No, what?
Well, all the comments about coffee cups and all sorts.
Yeah, but we haven't got coffee cups on us this time. Welcome to another Roman road video.